And don't come back. I've had enough of you. You wouldn't believe it. But I had to use a broom to get rid of that monster. My poor daughter was trying to sleep in bed, and the monster had been hiding under her bed, rustling the curtains and making scary shadows in the room. And all she wanted was a good night's sleep. Now you may ask, why did you pretend to get rid of the monster? You wouldn't believe it, but the best way to remove a monster is not with facts, but with make-believe. I know this because I've been working with early childhood children in kindergarten for many years, and I have 3 children of my own. And they've been little ones. I wonder if you have been. Piaget was a cognitive theorist, and he started doing some research after he realised that the idea of what children were learning, on how they learnt, was incorrect. From medieval times, there was no such thing as childhood. There was no term for childhood. Adults would try and purge fanciful notions of make-believe from children as soon as they could and make them grow up and behave logically. However, 1896, a fellow named Piaget studied children and how they thought and why they thought differently from adults. And he particularly looked at the stages between 2 and 7 years old. This is the most magical, wonderful years of a child, because that is when they have a strong sense of make-believe and imagination. It's called the pre-operational stage, and it means before logic. And that's what we're looking at tonight. For example, something imaginable. Now, have you ever, when you were little, did you ever go behind the television and wonder how all those people got in there? I did. And a few weeks ago, I was speaking to my 4-year-old granddaughter, and she was asking about the shows that were on, and I said, look, the news has real people. Animation shows like Frozen and Bluey, they're drawn pictures. Nana! No. I know about Frozen. Frozen's real because Elsa came to my daycare and she's real. And so with that, of course, I just let it go. And the same little granddaughter is very sad when it's time for little favourite fluffy bunny to be washed. It has to go into the washing machine and be spinning around, and she's watching it. Hope it doesn't drown. And then we peg it up on the line and the ears will hurt, because one of the features of the pre-operational stage is not logical. This is when their imagination takes over. This is when children between 2 and 7 believe what they see. And we know, next month we're going to be having Christmas time, and you know that there's going to be all the children who are just looking forward to Santa. And isn't it sad that some people think that they're doing their children a favour if they tell them the big news. Now, there's only one little tricky thing about Santa that's not true, and who needs to destroy that? The one little piece of information, who actually delivers the presents, is neither here nor there. Everything else about Santa is pretty true. They can see him and they can visit him and they know all there is to know about Santa. So, suggestion to you, if you have a grandchild or a child aged between 2 and 7, please don't destroy the magic because it's such a wonderful time. Even just putting on a costume makes children think that they transform from a person into somebody like Mickey Mouse. One of the other features of the pre-logical stage is that of only being able to understand one attribute at a time. They can't see more than one feature. For example, when my daughter Julie was 4 years old, I was making lunch for her, a sandwich. Julie said, "Mum, can I please have 7 sandwiches for lunch?" Why would she need 7 sandwiches? So of course I said, "Sure, no worries at all." I took an extra few seconds to prepare the sandwich. Handed it over to her. She was perfectly happy. Now let's see. What I had done was I'd cut that one sandwich into 7 tiny little pieces. When I handed it to her, she counted them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because she was between 2 and 7, she could not concentrate on 2 attributes at a time. She could not see that they were smaller. She could only concentrate on the size of them. Similarly, my son asked me for some juice, and I poured the juice into a short, squat glass. It wasn't enough. "I want more than that, Mum." "Sure, no trouble. I take a tall, thin glass and in front of his very eyes, pour the juice into the tall, thin glass. And his cup runs over, he was happy. When they all wanted a lolly snake, but unfortunately, only one lolly snake in the packet. What to do? "Here's a treat for you 3 children. What can I do? Cut it into 3 equal portions. Stretch it out. Here you go, 1 nice long snake for each one of you." Now you asked about the monster. Hannah I'd removed the monster from the bedroom, but how are we going to stop it coming back in? Well, you get a little mustard jar and you blow in 3 kisses into the jar. You put in a little bit of fairy dust. I actually just use regular dust from the top of the dressing table, popped it in, and a coloured button. And that will keep, and put the fairies in too, and that will keep the monsters away. So fight fire with fire. Well, I'm not trying to put children down or laugh at them, but if you've got to go with where they are at that stage of their development, because this is what they're thinking. It's very important to, you wouldn't believe it, they believe it, and you don't want to be destroying what is a natural part of children's development when they're at this very, very important age of development. There's enough time from the time they're 7 to 11 to be logical, from 11 to adults to have abstract thinking, but if you wouldn't believe it, please make sure that the children do.